The second one is all, number 2 is all homemade, that you don't even need to ask me on that one.
Okay, now we want to expedite 1 and 2. Well, at least we decided that at the last agenda meeting, the chamber contract and the meeting rules. So, Steve, let me ask you.
I can't remember, do we need to expedite 3142?
That I don't know. Which is about the transportation improvement, that's the underpass. How come there's only one underpass? Is there, I mean, there's two.
There's 2, it's their only, I mean,
They're partial on one.
Yeah.
Okay. That's Springfield, and this is.
there's the whole project, so.
What's the difference in essential business and non-essential business allowed area? There are some that allow like long boxes that have a drive-through.
Right.
Yeah.
We're talking about that service business here, not restaurants, and there's a lot, there'll be even more.
Really, Ted, a living room wasn't good enough. We got to go outside.
You see Heather?
I
There she is.
Hey, she's there.
Hello?
Oh,
Okay, we are, everybody is unmuted. We are getting ready to, we're just gonna start up. It is 7 o'clock and I call this meeting to order. The first thing we will do is do our digital pledge of allegiance to the flag. So we're gonna,
Oh, hang on a
all
second
right.
here. Let me
I
get
pledge
it.
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You know, that's a little awkward, but that's just part of the American way. So that's the way we're gonna do it. All right, roll call vote, please. And I see that we can see all of the aldermen. That's good. All right.
Alderman Alder,
All the way up.
Here?
Alderman Galloway,
Oh,
Bruce.
Alderman Galloway, Alderman Poston,
Here.
Alderman Schaefer,
Here.
Alderman Smith.
here.
We have 5 aldermen, we have a quorum.
Okay, very good. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of April the 6th?
So moved.
Second.
Schaefer and Poston, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I don't sound like it. It doesn't sound like it. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of April 16th?
So moved.
Second.
Schaefer and Poston, thank you, gentlemen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very much. All right, we will go on to new bills. Mr. Smith, Bill 3118.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move that we place Bill 3118 on its first reading by title and short description only, please.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Smith and seconded by Alderman Poston to put Bill 3118 on its first reading. All in favor? All right, Ms. Callaway.
An ordinance of the city of Ozark, Missouri, authorizing the city to enter into a contract with the Ozark Chamber of Commerce for professional services.
Okay, Steve has had several conversations with Anna about this, so I'm gonna let him take the explanation.
Yeah, last time I was just seeing it for the first time, so it was rather new to me. And I just wanted to let everybody know that under the circumstances, we put this forward. And Anna and I have met for a few different meetings on the contract, discussed action items. There are several of the points in the contract that are already underway and already being worked on. So we are in constant communication with one another on a daily basis, trying to work with our businesses and do the things that the contract states. So I certainly support this at this time. And Anna, if you have anything to add to that, I'll open the floor to you.
Thanks, Steve. I just want to, first of all, say thank you to the Board of Aldermen for, again, being willing to adapt and improvise as needed. So I think it speaks very well of the city and of our municipal government that we're able to take a look at the circumstances and make the adaptations and the changes that we need to make. So Steve and I have been, like he said, in good communication about the contract. We're really, really excited for several of the items to really get even more underway than they are, especially our economic recovery task force. I think that's going to be really valuable to us. And we've got several members of the community who are really excited to participate in that. So would be happy to answer any questions or clarify any information if anyone has questions for me or for Steve.
Okay, are there any questions of Ms. Evans? And this is actually a first reading. It's a public meeting. So I see a face on the screen that I do not recognize, and all members of the public are entitled to ask questions at first reading. So are there any questions of Ms. Evans or Mr. Childers about this chamber contract? Okay, if not, Mr. Childers, you had mentioned to me that you wanted to get this expedited. Is that still the desire?
Yes, I feel that under the circumstance, we need to get moving. Like I said, we're already moving and we're already putting the task force together. Anna and I have been working on that, but it would be helpful to us if this was in place so that we can continue on with the other steps.
All right, if that's okay with you, Mr. Smith, please proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move that we place Bill 3118 on its second reading by title and description only, please.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Smith and seconded by Alderman Poston to put Bill 3118 on its second reading by title and description only. All in favor? All right, Ms. Galloway.
An ordinance of the city of Ozark, Missouri, authorizing the city to enter into a contract with the Ozark Chamber of Commerce for professional services.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Just real quick, I should have said this a while ago and I didn't, but Ms. Evans, I want to thank you once again. I think it's fantastic that you stepped up so quickly and was willing to work to redo this contract. I know you guys put a ton of effort into it, but circumstances changed, and thanks for being there. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes. All right, do I hear a motion from Mr. Smith?
Yes, Your Honor, I move that we adopt Bill 3118 as ordinance 20-022.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Smith and seconded by Alderman Poston to adopt Bill 3118 as ordinance 20-022. Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Alder,
We need to hear you.
Alderman.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yes.
Alderman Galloway,
You're muted too, Bruce.
Okay. My video stopped, but aye.
Alderman Poston,
Aye.
Alderman Schaefer,
Aye.
Alderman Smith.
Aye.
We have 5 aye votes, motion carries.
All right. I know this is a little awkward, but the more we do it, the better we're going to get at it. So thank you for persevering, gentlemen and ladies. All right, Mr. Smith, Bill 3141.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move that we place Bill 3141 on its first reading by title and short description only, please.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Smith, seconded by Alderman Poston to put Bill 3141 on its first reading. All in favor? All right.
Amending the municipal code of the city of Ozark, Missouri, chapter 110, mayor and board of aldermen, section 110-220, rules of order, participation at meetings and proxy voting to be consistent with state law.
All right, Amanda, would you take the discussion on this, please?
Yes, this code amendment proposes to amend the city code so it will be in line with the laws related to meetings of public governmental bodies pursuant to Missouri state law. That is dictated by the Missouri Sunshine Law, and it allows for the board members to participate physically in attendance or via video conferencing. And then there are more relaxed regulations if there is an emergency situation. So this amendment would change the city code language to be consistent with state law.
Okay, very good. Are there any questions from council? Any questions from the public? Okay, Mr. Smith, we need to expedite. Oh, do what?
Amanda, did you have something?
Yes, the minutes would need to reflect that Bruce's video wasn't working for the last vote. You must be video conferenced when you vote.
Listen, we can't mess around with that. My people need to be heard. Where this phone hookup is, and I've not been able to get the laptop to hook, is it's not giving me the option to speak and be on the video at the same time.
When you were just in,
It's working now.
It's working now?
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
we can see you and hear you. You have on a blue shirt, dark pants.
Oh, well, I'm sure you can see me. Okay, well, good. You can hear me. All right.
I would suggest that when we're going through the roll call vote, if we have a situation where we can't see an alderman, we give them a few minutes before passing them by to make sure that their video can be resynced.
All right, yeah, just to clarify, when the roll call vote is done, if you would, if you're muted, unmute yourself because we need to see you and to hear you. Okay, so is there a motion to adopt? We need to expedite that. A motion to adopt Bill 3141, sorry. Second reading. Yeah, all that explanation. All All right, yeah, I need a motion to put Bill 3141 then on its second reading by title only. Okay, I can't hear you. I'm seeing, it looks like this.
I have a motion to place Bill 3141 on its second reading by title and short description only, please.
Okay, very good. Mr.
Second.
Poston? All right, motion made by Alderman Smith, seconded by Alderman Poston, put Bill 3141 on its second reading. All in favor? Okay, Ms. Calloway.
Amending the municipal code of the city of Ozark, Missouri, chapter 110, mayor and board of aldermen, section 110-220, rules of order, participation at meetings and proxy voting to be consistent with state law.
Okay, if there are no further questions, Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Your Honor. I move that we adopt Bill 3141 as ordinance 20-023.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Smith and seconded by Alderman Poston to adopt Bill 3141 as ordinance 20-023. Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Alder,
Aye.
thank you.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
We got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Alderman Galloway,
Aye.
Alderman Poston,
Aye.
Alderman Schaefer,
Aye.
Alderman Smith.
Aye.
We have 5 aye votes, motion carries. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's see here. Bill 3142, Mr. Galloway.
Your Honor, I move that we place Bill number 3142 on its first reading by title only.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Galloway and seconded by Alderman Smith to put Bill 3142 on its first reading. All in favor? All right, Ms. Galloway.
An ordinance of the city of Ozark, Missouri, authorizing the city to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Ozark R6 Public School District for certain public improvements.
Okay, I don't see Mr. Parsons. Do you want to take this?
He's down in the bottom right.
Oh, there you are.
Can you make yourself available?
Yes, I'm still trying to work on my video, but can you hear me?
Yes.
Can everybody else hear Mr. Parsons? Give me a thumbs up if you can. Okay,
Okay.
go ahead, Jeremy.
Okay. This is the intergovernmental agreement that we've been working on since September of last year. It kind of came into being once we worked with the OTO on the grant that we have now officially been awarded. As we were applying for this grant, we recognized the connectivity that it would provide for the school and its many buildings, and essentially function like a campus through our central corridor. The school saw the value in this. I took it to the school board in September of last year. They voted on it. Now that everything has been approved in terms of the OTO and it's gone up to the Federal Highway Commission, we are prepared to execute this. The schools looked it over. I think Ms. Calloway and their attorney have been emailing back and forth, and everyone's content with this version of the IGA.
Okay, are there any questions from council? Any questions from the public? Okay, if not, why, is there any need to expedite this, Jeremy?
Yeah, it's Mr. Childers and I were talking before the meeting. We would like to request to expedite it. It would just be one more step that we've got completed. And then we can continue to move forward. This is a fast moving project. So yes, expediting would be wonderful.
All right, if there are no objections, Mr. Galloway.
Yes, I move that we place Bill number 3143 on its second reading by title and brief description.
Second.
Is that, it's 4-2, isn't it?
Excuse me, 4-2.
Yeah. Okay. All right, motion made by Alderman Galloway. Who is the second?
Smith.
Seconded by Mr. Smith to put Bill 3142 on its second reading by title and description only. All in favor? All right, Ms. Calloway?
An ordinance of the city of Ozark, Missouri, authorizing the city to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Ozark Public School District for certain public improvements.
Okay, Mr. Galloway,
Your Honor, I move that we enact Bill number 3142 as ordinance number 20-024.
Second.
yes. All right, and a second, I heard one, but I didn't see it, Mr. Smith, okay. Motion made by Alderman Galloway and seconded by Alderman Smith to adopt Bill 3142 as ordinance 20-024. Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Alder,
Aye.
Alderman Galloway,
Aye.
Alderman Poston,
Aye.
Alderman Schaefer,
Aye.
Alderman Smith.
Aye.
We have 5 aye votes, motion carries.
Okay, Mr. Galloway, 3143.
Your Honor, I move that we place Bill number 3143 on its first reading by title only.
Second.
A motion made by Alderman Galloway, seconded by Alderman Smith, put Bill 3143 on its first reading by title only. All in favor? All right, Ms. Galloway.
An ordinance of the city of Ozark, Missouri, authorizing the city to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Christian County Emergency Services for use of city property.
Okay, Ms. Galloway, did you want to take that explanation?
No, I believe the Director of Public Works will explain the next two.
Oh, okay. All right, all right, then we'll let Jeremy, would you please take that?
Yeah, this is another project that we've been working on for quite some time. Christian County Emergency Services came to us and they recognized that they were having some communication difficulties across the city. We just happen to own and maintain some of the largest elevated storage tanks in the city, which provides a very clear path for their communication services. So what we've done here is basically put together an agreement that allows them to be on our facilities, our elevated storage tanks, and B, it also calls out all the equipment associated with this. We've now put together an extensive list of all the users that we have on our equipment and the type of equipment that they have on our storage tanks. So they came to us with this. We recognized that this was the best option for them to communicate effectively. And this is what we came up with. The next two will actually be Becky Lane and then Blue Stem. And very similar in the IGA. It's just getting everything documented and officially agreed upon by both governmental agencies.
Okay, now Bill 3143, which tank is that for? I have Blue Stem, is that correct? I mean, they're two identical bills for two separate towers.
Yes, this one's Blue Stem, the first one.
All right, so we're talking about the Blue Stem tower. Are there any questions of council for Mr. Parsons? Yes, Mr. Poston.
Mr. Parsons, do we do any testing to make sure there's never going to be a conflict, or do we leave that to the person whose equipment we're installing?
So we actually do quite a bit of testing with our SCADA controls. RW Vaught is our technical engineer on our systems for warning and for calling out to our facilities. So we do a lot of testing and we make sure that, and this is the technical term that they use a lot, but that you're not stepping on each other with those band waves and you're communicating effectively and clearly. So yes, a lot of testing goes into this.
And it's all already been done. That's not to come. That's already been done.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I hate to keep asking this because I do not like to expedite everything on the agenda. Is this something critical, Mr. Parsons, to expedite? I don't want to get in the habit of doing everything.
No. I don't believe we need to expedite this. They were very thankful for us just working it in. I know Ms. Calloway worked on this IGA, and they were thankful that we worked it into the agenda during this time period. So.
All right, then we'll hold this over to the next legislative session. And Mr. Galloway, Bill 3144.
Your Honor, I move we place bill number 3144 on its first reading by title only.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Galloway, seconded by Alderman Smith, but bill 3144 on its first reading by title only. All in favor? Okay, Ms. Galloway.
An ordinance of the city of Ozark, Missouri, authorizing the city to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Christian County Emergency Services for use of city property.
Okay, Mr. Parsons, you want to give us any more details on this?
Really the same thing here. We already did the Blue Stem Tower. This is Becky Lane on the south side. Again, it all has to do with the elevation and the topography and their ability to communicate clearly throughout the city.
All right, that makes sense. Are there any questions from council? Any questions from the public? Okay, if not, then we'll hold this over to the next legislative session. So bill 3145, Mr. Galloway.
Your Honor, I move we place bill number 3145 on its first reading by title only.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Galloway, seconded by Alderman Smith to put bill 3145 on its first reading by title only. All in favor? Okay, Ms. Galloway.
An ordinance of the city of Ozark, Missouri, authorizing the city to enter into a contract with IMS Infrastructure Management Services, LLC, for professional services.
All right, I'm excited about this one, but Mr. Parsons, why don't you refresh our memory as to what this is going to do?
Yeah, we talked about this project on Thursday and the benefits of this. We've been working with other municipalities for quite some time now, trying to figure out the most efficient, cost-effective, and organized way to really go about our repairs and maintenance on our streets. I think the city has done a wonderful job over the last 3 years, especially since the transportation sales tax and since the Board of Aldermen has really dedicated a significant amount of funding to our paving. But those times are, I think, behind us now. The worst first that we talked about, the streets that are going in and having to completely tear out and replace, we're catching up on those. This puts together what they call a PCI, a pavement condition index, that quantifies the condition of our pavement. And what that does in turn, it allows us to make the most data-driven decisions based upon the conditions for extending the life of that pavement, for choosing the right type of maintenance, for choosing what repairs need to be made. It really puts the science behind our goal, which is always to be as efficient as possible and keep our streets in good working condition.
All right, are there any questions from council? Yes, Mr. Galloway.
Jeremy, would it be fair to say that by enacting this contract, we're taking the guesswork out of street repair and replacement?
Yes, that would be fair to say. It's, I know there's a lot of years of experience and skill within our department, but there's also some really sophisticated technology that's come along over the last decade or so that allows us to take a look not only at the surface conditions, but what's underneath that surface. So I still put a lot of faith in our streets guys that have been out there for 30 years. They've got radar vision, if you will, but this puts together a science-based plan for us moving forward, or a data-based plan moving forward.
And I have a follow-up.
Sure. Go ahead.
It sounds like then by approving this contract, we have the potential of saving taxpayers a great deal of money by avoiding mistakes and prioritizing the correct roads.
That's a completely accurate statement. And it also allows us to better understand, given the current economic climate and what we may be going into with our paving budget, it puts this software together that allows us to activate certain cells by changing the budget. It shows you essentially how you can best utilize that budget to enhance the life of your streets. It gives you that factor that we've kind of been missing, in that, you know, the science is behind it to say, if you take care of this neighborhood within the next 2 years, you could buy yourself potentially 15 years. That's just an example. Every street's different, but yeah, the efficiencies and the transparency of this too. A PCI is a number between 1 and 100. You know, it's really transparent to the taxpayers to say, listen, the reason we're doing this section of street is it's currently at a 53. If we don't do something now, we're going to have to come in here and completely rip out and remove and repave this.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Jeremy, is there, I trust there's no need to, oh, Mr. Poston.
Yeah, Mr. Parsons, I've struggled with this one a lot. You and I have met, and I had you walk me through this, and then this was brought up again the other day at the breakfast meeting, and I do not question at all the science behind this. I don't question the ROI behind this. I do question the timing. We still have about 2 years left, if I'm somewhere in that neighborhood, on the streets that we had promised the citizens that we would do, with the money from the transportation sales tax.
Yes.
Some of that's probably not even going to get, some of our original promise may not get done because we may end up running short of cash and have to kick a couple things down the road. I've got a budget that's have no idea what it's going to look like, but it's not going to look like it was when we passed it in December. I have issues approving this right now, and it is for those reasons. You know, you and I have talked about this. I've got some issues with the data as well, but algorithms can be tweaked, and I have no doubt that we can make the data work for us.
Mm-hmm.
But given that we are 2 years away from being able to actually use this information, because we still owe it to the people to complete those streets that we promised them, I'm not comfortable spending $40,000 right now with a budget that I'm not clear what it's going to look like in 30 days. So
yeah,
for my seat, and we'll see what the rest of the board, I would like to table this. And I know there may be some dates in here that would have to be, you know, we may have to tweak this or amend this to make this work down the road. But I would like to ask the board to table this for 45 days.
Right. Well, let's see. I see 2 hands go up. Mr. Galloway has a comment, and I would like to hear Mr. Parsons' reply to that. But let's hear Mr. Galloway's comment first.
Actually, my comment was more a question. Jeremy, what about that? Waste of money now or good money spent?
My answer to that would be, we need this now more than ever, and that's not a cliche. That's we are going to have to make some very difficult decisions over the next couple of years, depending on how this all shakes out with our revenue stream. We have been doing, to Alderman Poston's point, we've been doing an amazing job keeping our promises that we made to the taxpayers, because things have been going along smoothly. We had some good years, and I hope we have 2 more good years. But if we start significantly altering the budget and we start amending this and taking 25, 30, 50% away, this data allows us to punch in that revised number that you know, goes from 700 to 350. Where can that $350,000 be spent the best at this time to buy you time into the future? And I because I can't see on my computer here, I've also asked Jeff Myers with IMS. They've been doing this since the 1980s. He's a local rep. He came highly recommended by the city of Springfield. The city of Springfield has done a great job of catching up. For years, they've been known to, kind of lack in their streets department. And this was one of the tools that they utilized to figure out a better way to manage the dollars that they do get. Now, I understand they also passed some transportation sales tax, and the people have seen how that's been great for the city of Springfield. And that's our model too in Ozark. We want to put it into Ozark terms, but the proof is in the pudding. You're seeing these roads that are getting improved, and we want this transportation sales tax to become kind of a no-brainer, like it is in Springfield, with these extremely high renewal rates. But that's my answer to that. Now's more of a time than ever due to what we may be facing. I would recommend that if Jeff's on this call, Mr. Myers, he may be able to expand on that a little bit.
I am. How you doing, Jeremy?
Hey, Jeff.
I got to admit, this is the first one of these.
Your opinion. I didn't know that was you, so go ahead.
Okay. Got to admit, this is the first one of these I've attended remote. It's very odd. Strange times. No, like Jeremy said, the crux of it is your budget is probably going to be shape shifting over the next few years. And we really don't know where it'll be at this point. But we do know one thing that's consistent in our business: you will never be able to fix all of the streets. It would take an enormous amount of funding. And given that, you have to make hard decisions every year about what you're going to fix and what you're not going to fix. And you have to have defensibility to show that you're doing that in the most cost-efficient use of taxpayers' funds. So what we do with our analysis is we will identify not necessarily the worst roads to do first, but the roads that it's going to cost you the most not to rehab in a given year. So we're looking for roads that are on the verge of drifting from one rehab category to a more expensive rehab category. And the savings are fairly astounding, because if we catch a road that scores a PCI, say, in the high 30s, low 40s, you can come in and do a heavy overlay on that road. And I don't have your cost numbers, but Jeremy, I would say that probably runs somewhere around $20 a square yard. I can see you're muted.
Yes, sir.
About $20 a yard for an overlay.
That's correct.
So we have roughly a 1 to 2 year window to overlay that street before it drifts into a category where you cannot overlay it any longer. And you have to do a reconstruction. And your reconstruction costs probably run, Jeremy, $42 to $45 a foot or a yard?
Last year, 48.
Okay. So if we catch that road in the last year, you can do an overlay. You're in effect fixing it for about $25 a yard less than it would cost you to fix it in 2 years. So that's what we're trying to do. And we have a tool. It's an interactive spreadsheet that works as a pavement management system that allows you to kind of play around with the budget, run different budget scenarios, and see, okay, well, if we apply X number of dollars in a given year, what does that look like to our overall network score? How does that increase our backlog? So we have flexibility in the deliverable to where you can kind of experiment and run different budget scenarios very easily.
All right, any questions of Mr. Myers? Yeah, Mr. Poston.
All right, so you kind of know where I'm at on the budget, but Mr. Myers, since you were talking about your algorithm, I do have a couple of questions about it.
Sure.
It sounds like your algorithm gives preferential treatment to those streets that are about to cross from a higher level into a lower level to keep them from going into that lower level.
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense. I get that. But how does a lower level street ever get done then? If I have no idea how many levels there are, but if there's, say, 3 levels and a street's getting ready to go from great to good, how does a crappy street ever get done? If we're always doing these streets up here that are getting ready to cross threshold.
It depends on the level of budget. if you're dealing with a very limited budget, if you look at the streets as an investment, and I actually have run the numbers for Ozark, and I would almost guarantee that the road network is the highest dollar investment that the city maintains. And it's kind of a unique asset in that it's not divestible. You can't give it away or lease it out. As long as there's an Ozark, you're going to own the streets. So depending on the funds you have to bear, the hard financial reality is a bad road, your financial investment is pretty much absorbed. It doesn't depreciate much further. The cost of reconstruction on a PCI of 25 is going to be the same cost of reconstruction plus inflation on a PCI of 10. Whereas when you drift through a category, your costs increase exponentially.
Right, and I get that, but I guess that was kind of one of my concerns of going into this is that if life was black and white and mathematical formulas, I am 100% behind where this is going. But somewhere in there, I've got to factor in upset people, and I mean, I'm being realistic here, right? I have to factor in the politics of it. I have to factor in the reality that doing a street adjacent to another street gives me a synergy that I don't get doing two disparate streets, even if the dollars and cents is a little more sound in that scenario.
Sure.
So that's my concern. How much flexibility does this board or the mayor or the city administrator or Mr. Parsons have over that algorithm?
100%. So when we do an analysis, we're collecting accurate data because it's laser gathered. We'll begin at 100% cost optimization, but we've been doing this a long time. That never hunts. I've never had it a single, not even close. So as we get the raw data, we start to, in effect, merge it with what makes Ozark. Your specific rates, your specific budget. How is your budget parsed? Is there a percentage of it that's got to go to different parts of the city? Is there a percentage of it that has to go to reconstruction? Now, we can set those parameters however you want them set. But at the end of the day, streets will always come up. I mean, that 5-year plan will always be fluid.
Is there a weighting factor in there somehow? Is there some sort of in the equation somewhere? Do I say that, I don't know, this street's more traveled? I mean, and so therefore, even if it costs more, it's worth it because it just gets more traffic than this street over here, which is cheaper. Is this weighted in there as well?
Most definitely. We begin with basic functional classification. We call those arterials. Those are your heavily trafficked generally four lane roads that take most of your construction, and commercial traffic. But we can build parameter. I mean, remember, we've been doing this for about 35 years. We've done over 1,000 projects. Every one of them has been completely differently customized. So we have some cities, for example, that want to prioritize the roads around their schools and hospitals. We have some cities that have 8 wards in the city, and the budget has to be split equally among all 8 of those wards. So if we know what you're wanting to do, we can get as specific as you would like for us to get.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Myers. That's all I have. Thank you, sir.
All right, any more comments or questions from council? Okay, Jeremy, if there's not a need to hurry this one through, we'll put it off to the next meeting. Is that all right, or do you want to expedite this?
Nope, that sounds good. Let's put it off to the next one.
We'll hold this over. All right, let's see. Bill 3146, I'll take this one. As you all know, we have a vacancy in the Board of Alderman, and it is my obligation to fill that. And so we have been contacted by a gentleman. You see him I see him on closer to the lower left. RJ, wave, if you will, please. Okay, so if you don't know RJ Flores, that is RJ Flores that just waved at you. He is currently on the Planning and Zoning Commission, so he's not unfamiliar at all with city government, but he has expressed an interest in being an alderman. And last week, Steve and I met with him for, it was close to an hour just to find out a little bit about why he wanted to do that. And so anyway, I would like to bring his name to you tonight as an appointment. It has to be as a bill, And so, but he is here tonight. So you have seen him, and if you've got any questions of him, why, you know, now's the time, if you don't already know him, to ask. So, we probably need to read that bill, don't we? Okay, so, yes, Mr. Poston, if you would take that and somebody second him, we'll read the
Yeah,
bill.
Your Honor, I move that we place Bill 3146 on its first reading.
Second,
Motion made by Alderman Poston, second by Alderman Galloway, to put Bill 3146 on its first reading. All in favor? Okay, Ms. Galloway.
An ordinance of the City of Ozark, Missouri, approving the appointment of Gil Richard R.J. Flores Jr. to the Board of Aldermen.
Okay, open for discussion. Any, Mr. Poston?
Your Honor, the only thing I have to say is that I had no idea that Mr. Flores' name was Gil, and I'll make sure he doesn't live that down.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that last part. You had no idea what? I really couldn't understand that.
I had no idea that Mr. Flores' name was Gil, so I'm going to make sure that everybody knows that now.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was a concern that Ms. Hodges had, and Amanda. They said we need to know his real name, so that's why it's on there. But he will always be RJ to us. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Heather.
Why do you want to be an alderman?
Well, I've been involved in Ozark. I've been here for since I was 14, but I've been serving on P&Z and OHPC before that and stuff like that. So I've always been involved here in Ozark. And when this became available, I thought it was a good way to continue to serve my community and continue to be involved here in Ozark in a more meaningful capacity than I'm doing right now. Not that P&Z, I don't mean it like that, like it's not meaningful, but definitely saw it as a good opportunity to keep doing good here in town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the public as well? Bruce, did you have a comment?
well, I was just going to say that I've known RJ since I first moved to Ozark, and he was the one that got the lights to work in my building. That was a mark in his favor. But seriously, I know he and his wife. I've had a number of discussions with him where he's inquired about city policy. He volunteered for OHPC and that's historic preservation, and for planning and zoning. I know him to be intelligent, articulate, person of strong values, and I think it's an excellent choice, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I would encourage, if anybody else, Mr. Branch, if you have any comments, feel free. You don't have to be an alderman to make comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, RJ and I have served on planning and zoning for the last couple of years, and he has been a terrific addition to that commission. He's thoughtful, he's intelligent, he does not waste time. He does not speak just to hear himself speak. He analyzes the things that are presented to us, and he makes a decision based on that analysis. And I have full confidence that he's going to do that and more as a member of the Board of Aldermen. And quite frankly, he's a very good friend, and I just could not be any prouder of him. And I think that he will make a great addition to the Board of Aldermen for this city. He will do a fantastic job, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? I would like to make a comment if there aren't, but I want you all to have every opportunity. Okay, here's the issue we are facing. Typically, I would not want to expedite this. If it lays on the table for 2 weeks, gives everybody plenty of time to think about it and be certain of their vote if you're not already. So I'm not trying to hurry it for any other reason, except that the next meeting is the first meeting in May, and it looks like we will have 2 very interesting bills or discussions. One is the applicant for Northtown Park, wanting to talk about that situation with Grand Haven Northtown Park. And we have a very elaborate plan for how we're going to handle that here at the OC, doing it by Zoom. But it could be, there's just a lot of room for discussion there. And also the Covered Bridge subdivision annexation is going to be brought forth for discussion. And I think it would be a good idea to have that both of those discussions with a full complement of aldermen and not just 5. So that's the only reason I would be in favor of expediting it. And I would like to hear your all's thoughts on that, because I certainly cannot make that motion.
Your Honor, I'll make that motion right now if you don't mind.
No.
I move that we
Second.
place Bill 3146 on its second reading.
Second.
Okay, a motion made by Alderman Poston, seconded by Alderman Galloway to put Bill 3146 on its second reading. All in favor? Okay, Ms. Galloway.
An ordinance of the City of Ozark, Missouri, approving the appointment of Gil Richard R.J. Flores Jr. to the Board of Aldermen.
Okay, are there any other comments? Okay, Mr. Poston.
Your Honor, I move that we adopt Bill 3146 as ordinance 20-024. 25. Thank you, sir.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Poston, seconded by Alderman Galloway to adopt Bill 3146 as ordinance 20-025. Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Alder,
Aye.
Alderman Galloway,
Aye.
Alderman Poston,
Aye.
Alderman Schaefer,
Aye.
Alderman Smith.
Aye.
We have 5 aye votes, motion carries.
Congratulations, Mr. Flores. One of the items on the agenda for the first meeting in May will be your swearing in. That will be right after the roll call vote and pledge of allegiance. So we look forward to seeing you then.
I just want to say thank you. It's an honor to get to serve my community in that capacity. I do appreciate it.
I know you and I know you mean that. So congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, let's go on to the next agenda item. Mr. Childers, your report.
Thank you, Mayor. As everybody knows, I'll give a report on just a update on the situation we're dealing with, just like everybody else. On Friday, we had discussions all day. First discussion about the stay-at-home order was with probably 25 elected officials there, the City of Springfield, Greene County Health Department, our Christian County Health Department, Ozark Nixa, Christian County, and many other mayors were on that call. And we were learning about the medical side of the situation. We had a presentation by the Greene County Health Department updating us on the current situation in our region. I want to say how proud I am that we've been working together as a region, coordinating and communicating. It's really a testimony to just how well we've built relationships. We're all leaning on each other because it changes every day. We do not know what really the best decision is. We just have to take the information that we're given, evaluate the circumstances, and do the best that we can. That being said, as you well know, the governor has extended his stay-at-home order until May 3rd. But the topic of the discussion was that although that is the case, we recognize, because we hear from and we talk to and we share information with our business community in the city of Ozark, and we know how vital it is to not take for granted that focus on preserving the health, safety, and welfare of our citizens, but also preserving the sanctity of our local economy. Our businesses are struggling. I heard from 5 new businesses today that directly sent me emails or that I talked to on the phone. So what the conversation was what can we do to take small steps to advance the timeline of getting our economy back going? And those conversations again took place all day Friday, and they took place up in Springfield and Greene County. They're taking place right now. I know that the city of Springfield is going to modify their ordinance to relax it just a little bit to allow for those retailers that were originally considered non-essential to begin selling their products and functioning their business as long as they can do so without inviting people into their doors. So if they can do it online, if they can do it curbside, if they can do it by delivery and take orders, then they're going to do that. And we feel very strongly that that's probably the right step for us to do as well. The mayor is also visiting with Mayor Steele over in Nixa and we're certainly communicating with our presiding commissioner at the Christian County level to see even if there's a possibility to do the same thing for some of our service businesses on a limited basis as well. Meaning that recognizing the CDC's distancing and social distancing guidelines, making sure that the safety precautions are put in place, and just seeing what types of businesses that have a service that may not have been considered essential, maybe that they can do some work if they can maintain those CDC guidelines. We think that that's possible, and we're looking at trying to finalize that. Again, although we've been step by step in line with Greene County and Springfield, and we still are. We are different down here. It's Christian County and it's Ozark and Nixa, and we have a different economy. We're learning a lot about our individual economies right now, but we're just wanting to let you know that that is something that is being talked about so we can get things back on track. Does anyone have any questions for me specifically as it pertains to the state, the federal government, coronavirus, or anything else related to the issues we're dealing with? Mr. Smith?
Hey, thank you for what you just said. One of the biggest things we need to be thinking about, this is an 18 to 36 month issue. The issue of reopening is important, but the bigger issue is this is an 18 to 36 month issue, and we're going to have to deal with it.
I think everybody agrees with you on that. Like I said, though, we're taking this day by day. We're certainly not taking for granted at all that this could be a year, 2 year, 3 year difference. I mean, the entire economy across the entire nation and world has changed. If retail wasn't struggling already, it certainly just had the nail in the coffin given to it by this particular epidemic. So I think that's why we anticipate that we will be discussing more with our Ozark Chamber as well as our partners over at Show Me Christian County, just what types of work they can be doing with us to help us on our path over the next 2 or 3 years to make sure that we get our economy back up to where we need it. So the daily and weekly decisions that we're making, I wouldn't want to construe the fact that we're not recognizing that this is a long-term implications for Ozark and everyone else. I don't know if that's what you meant, but I just want to make that point. So,
Mr. Galloway.
My only comment is to compliment the approach. I appreciate the thought that was given into well, I don't think you've made a decision, but in the principles that are at stake in your decision-making processes, I know those are difficult to balance, but from everything that I'm hearing, at least from this alderman's point of view, that seems to be a very balanced and safe approach.
Right, any other comments? Yes, Mr. Colson?
Steve, I have a couple actually. Let's start with this one, testing. Can you give me any information on testing, where the state's at on testing? And let me preface it by saying this, that my assumption is that before too long, everybody's going to get impatient and we're going to open up. And when we do, this is going to spike. And then we're going to have to make a decision whether we're going to turn around and lock everybody right back down again and go through this cycle off and on for the next, as Mr. Smith alluded, 12 to 36 months, whether we're going to ramp up testing so that when somebody does turn up positive, we can do contact tracing and testing, isolate a much smaller group rather than the entire public. So can anybody give me an answer on where we're at on testing, when we'll have an answer on testing? Is that the state's problem to solve? Is that the hospital's problem to solve? Is that the county health department's problem to solve? Can you give me some information on testing?
It's everybody's problem to solve that you just mentioned. I mean, it starts at the federal, it's certainly not a local problem to solve. It's not a municipality's problem to solve. You know, the federal government is constantly working on this. They're working on it 24/7. The state government is trying to do the same thing. I think they're dedicating many hours and a lot of resources to trying to figure this out. The best resource to ask is the county health department. So none of us are experts. But yes, we learned the other day that the best test that they had took like 14 days when this whole thing started to get a test result back. And now they've gotten that down to 72 hours. So now they have tests that can identify a positive result in 72 hours. That's something that we just learned the other day by getting everybody on the same call so that we would know how this works. And the problem is, and I'll give you the example they gave us, you get a positive case. That person tests positive, but they were around 64 other people in a warehouse or 64 other people in an office. Now, every one of those people need to be tested, and research needs to be done on everybody that those 64 people have been around. So the exponential size of when someone has been around a group of people that has been affected, it's just amazing. So, but yeah, the test now is down to 72 hours, I understand. But the health departments are really the best experts on that.
Would you mind, if that's the case, then can we ask Ms. Blue to attend our next meeting to answer some of these questions?
The next Board of Alderman meeting?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, we could. She was on that conference call last week as well as the Clay Goddard with the Greene County Health Department.
I think that Miss Blue is getting ready to retire. I don't know what day. I mean, I guess I would I would probably suggest that if we could have a you know, it sounds to me that a lot of the smaller health departments in the counties in the region, which I think we heard was about 8 to 10 health departments, are utilizing the Greene County Health Department, who has the most resources and most expertise, as their spokespeople. And so what we understand is that they have all directed, although they're managing it and dealing with it and going through the processes, they're using the Greene County Health Department as sort of the place to go to get the information. Maybe it would be more advantageous to ask Clay Goddard, the director of the Greene County Health Department, to attend maybe a breakfast meeting or something in the next week, so that we could ask him, and I believe it was John Mooney, who is the assistant director of the Greene County Health Department, that gave the presentation. Because that was the most information that we had received as officials of municipalities about testing cases, where our two regional healthcare facilities, Mercy and Cox, are in their positions on this. That was really where we've gotten the most information. So I think that would be the most valuable if you wanted to ask those questions. I'm
happy with that. I'll ask whoever you ask. You recommended the county health department. That's why I mentioned we asked Ms. Blue.
Well, and I think that's exactly where you would go. That's where we all went. But I can tell you that your smaller health departments they're understaffed, they're underfunded, they're not prepared to deal with this type of a situation. Like it or not, that is the situation. And so really, I think you'll get the most information if we ask Greene County to be on a call.
Okay, could you mind doing that, or would you like me to?
No,
we'll do that. No.
Perfectly fine.
That's no problem.
We can take care of it.
Okay, and then the second thing, and I think and I'm sure you guys are, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. We also need a plan on what we're going to do when this spikes again. Whether or not we're going to have the testing in place and be able to do the contact tracing and handle this on a very targeted approach, or whether we're just going to lock the entire county, city, state down again. I think that's something that we need to be working on as well.
Let me address that.
Yes, sir.
Pam, did you have your hand up?
I do. So I spoke with Cindy last night, and they are, until now, they were doing testing only if it was recommended by your doctor. You had basically multiple of the symptoms then they would go ahead and test you. I put out a press release this morning at 8 that basically said you are going to see a rise in the cases of positives. And that has to do with the fact that testing is there's more of it. So a lot more of that's going to start happening. If you have one symptom, they will now be able to test you. So it says right in the press release that we put out today, like, yes, you are going to see a rise in cases over the next couple of weeks.
When you say they will test you, do you mean the Christian County Health Department or the hospital, or who's they?
Yeah, I believe the hospitals are the one that's doing it. They recommend them. And then there's also private laboratories that are doing them as well, which is why it's hard for the health department to say we have conducted X amount of tests in Christian County, because there are private labs that are doing them as well. And so it makes it hard to specify that so many tests are being done. We can only get a positive back from the state, and they have 1 hour to let them know once that happens.
Okay, let me remind everybody that all of the decisions that we have made so far and will make in the future are going to be as much in line as we possibly can with Springfield and Greene County. We already decided that we want to be uniform with them so as not to be confusing. Now, we may take some small deviations from that, but nothing from the healthcare side. And so every conference call or webinar that Steve and I have been on, and even personal meetings, Clay Goddard, who's the head of the Greene County Health Department, has been there, and Springfield and Greene County itself, Bob Dixon, they're not going to take any steps without the blessing of that department. So you can rest assured that we will not either. Like I said, there may be some small deviations in non-essential businesses or service businesses. We're going to work on that over the next few days. But Springfield will shortly, probably sometime tomorrow, have a new executive order that explains how they're relaxing non-essential businesses, how they can be involved, as Steve explained. We will probably do the same thing. But anyway, we're going to wait to see what they do. One thing we will definitely do is extend our existing order, until the 4th of May, which is the governor's order. And but we may make some additions to that. And then we'll see what Springfield and Greene County does, and we will keep you all informed every step of the way. But right now, we're waiting to see exactly what they're going to do and to see if we agree with that, which we most likely will, but maybe not 100%. But anything we do, well, we just have to wait and see what they do. So yeah, I don't know if that answers any questions, Mr. Postman.
No, you did, sir. And please don't take anything I've said, don't construe anything I've said as a mark against what you've done. I'm in agreement with every action you've taken. I'm glad to see that we didn't follow down that path that some cities did of restricting non-essential goods at essential businesses. I didn't want to go down that road. I think you've handled this well, sir. I think we all also agree that we're not out of this. There's more to come, and I want to make sure that we don't get too excited. I want to be at the lake as much as anybody, but I don't want to get too excited.
And I don't think any of us, I certainly didn't take that personally as we are going to do what we can to relax things locally. Our conditions may be a little different. I saw Ted nodding your head when you said we're far from it being over. I mean, that's close and personal to him, and I understand that. We probably are 18 months away from being totally clear. But in the meantime, we have to weigh, I don't know if you can see my hands, but you have to weigh public health versus economics. And and that's what we're trying to do as practically and responsibly as we can. So that's, I assure you, we're not just going to open up Ozark. That would be disastrous. But we also know that if we wait 18 months to do anything, the landscape of businesses that are here now will not be here in 18 months. So we have to do everything we can to save as many of the businesses as we can, or to allow them the flexibility of operating at an expanded level. And so that's what we're looking into. We will consult with Steve and I will consult with Anna, we'll consult with the chief, plus the people in Springfield. We're not going to do anything that doesn't make sense, isn't logical, isn't responsible, and that we can't do. So I have one
more question about this, if I may.
Yeah.
Chief, this one's actually to you. For the most part, has compliance been good?
Yeah, really it has. Like we talked about before, we are trying to, weigh the business owners' concerns for their livelihood and stuff like that. So we're really trying to take a professional and a understanding approach. So we haven't had a lot of complaints, but when we do, we have been addressing them as professional and as understanding as we can. So I think our citizens are doing a pretty good job understanding what the impacts can be in our community. And there's a lot of self-policing, for a lack of a better term. So we are getting complaints, but they're not near in abundance what some of my counterparts are getting in other municipalities.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Heather.
Oh, Heather? Yes, Heather.
So when are we thinking of, are we staying with Springfield to make a change, or are we doing it sooner?
Well, they have sent us a draft of what they intend to do tomorrow, which will open it up slightly for non-essential retail businesses.
But not until the 24th.
Well, not until the 24th?
No, they're not making it immediate. Their
Okay.
order goes through April 24th at midnight, just like ours does, just like everyone else's does. So whatever change that they're going to make tomorrow will go into effect at midnight on the 24th. That's when that relaxation of the order will take place. They anticipate, based on the information they will receive from the health department and their medical professionals, that they would like to make additional changes to their order after May 3rd, but that will be dictated by the governor. So if the governor says that his order is not going to go further, or he changes it after May 3rd, then that'll give us a lot more flexibility. If the governor does do something and extend that beyond May 3rd, well, then clearly that will trump what we're going to be able to do, and that'll dictate it for us. So really, it's as our order expires on the 24th, what are we looking at on the 25th? And that's what the mayor is talking about, coordinating with Springfield.
Okay, so we're going to follow Springfield's lead. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
There may be more that we do, but but what Steve explained about letting non-essential businesses, retail businesses, operate at a higher level, as long as people don't enter the door, they can fill orders online, on the phone, internet, whatever. And then the people can come to the door to pick it up. They can leave it outside. They can deliver it in the case of flowers, options like that. We're going to be looking at some non-essential services too, to see if there might be some areas there that we need to tweak a little bit. But that's something that we have to discuss with Anna, because she knows a lot about her membership with the chief. I mean, he gets calls too, and we all get calls. So we're not ready to move on that yet. But what Springfield is probably going to do, effective in the 25th, is relaxing the non-essential retail, as explained.
Okay, so, thank you.
Yeah. So we'll, as this progresses, we'll keep you all posted, but that's kind of where it stands for now. So if you all have any questions, or any people that contact you and you can't answer the question, feel free to holler at one of the staff, me, Steve. We'll figure it out. All right, any other questions on this? All right, it's time for Mr. Smith's report. Cameron, you there? I see you are.
Yes. I just wanted to highlight or point out, if you guys have that in front of you on the second page, there's a couple lines that are highlighted. At this time last year compared to this year, just showing that last year was a busy year. However, this year is busier. We are a little over 70 permits higher in the first 3 months this year than we were last year. The recent pandemic affected the month of March. However, right now, looking back, the month of March, we are about 40 permits over the month of March last year. So it has not felt like it has slowed down in our department. We have still been cranking along. April is moving along pretty strongly. I don't have the numbers yet, but we are still looking pretty good in April. Part of that, maybe the business has felt like, due to the pandemic, we have put off hiring a replacement for Dolores' retirement. So we were down one person. However, we are staying really busy in our department. About the only thing noticeable difference that we are doing that we different now that we were doing before is the fact that we don't have walk-in customers. We are meeting them at curbside out in front of City Hall to collect the money and exchange paperwork if we need to. But anyway, I just want to point out to you guys, though, those first 3 months of this year, we are quite a bit beyond last year, which was the busiest year since 16.
Any questions, Mr. Poston?
Hey, Cameron, will you, as we move through this, will you kind of note activities that you're doing that can be done online, or maybe that we need to buy a particular piece of software or something to do, especially this type, the payment stuff? I know you've looked at some of this before, but will you just keep paying attention to that as we go?
Yeah, we're currently still working on our online payment software. We're getting several different bids and trying to coordinate that with our permitting software company. I will share with you guys, I'll try to remember to do this tomorrow or sometime this week. We do have we prepared to hand out to basically customers or citizens of our procedures of what we're doing now. I think Sam did actually post that as well as it on our website, kind of how we're handling the pandemic right now and what we're doing and exchanging information with the folks out there.
All right. Anything else for Mr. Smith? Okay, Ms. Callaway.
We've provided, as the law department, an update that was at the request of Alderman Poston to provide some bills that pertain to municipal issues. Those have been updated from the last time we presented them, and they're moving forward. We are tracking approximately 200 bills through the state legislature now. If anybody has any questions about a specific bill, I would be happy to take those questions and then bring back an answer at a future time.
Mr. Poston.
Yes, sir. Ms. Callaway, sorry, not a specific question, just in general, do you expect the State House to be able to finish out its term and to knock out most of this one way or another? Or do you think that we'll end up getting a lot of this dropped because of an abbreviated session?
Just based on past tracking of bills, a lot of what's proposed doesn't make it through anyway. So I would think that in light of a situation such as the emergency that is affecting the whole country, that may be a larger concern and impact on those bills, but I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll keep reading then. There was a few that had me a little bit worried, but I didn't want to go nutty yet until I figured out whether or not what was likely and whatnot, right? So I may just shoot you an email with some more specific questions about some of these. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Amanda, I've got a question that just didn't make sense to me. On the very first page, it was Senate Bill looks like it's SJR 44. It was on the first page of the fifth one down. But your explanation or the notes say, upon voter approval, the bill prohibits counties and other municipalities from imposing a tax of tangible personal property. And I thought we already did that. So what don't I understand?
No, that would be a law that would prohibit that type of tax. That bill has been proposed in the past and not gained enough traction to pass, or similar language. Just it is exactly what it states. I don't know how to answer. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. If it never passes, well, that's fine. Any other questions for Ms. Callaway or comments?
Thank you, Amanda.
All right, well, that completes the agenda. If there are no other comments, thank you all for being patient and for being here. And do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Smith, seconded by, I think, Alderman Schaefer. All in favor? Thank you. Ted, we noticed you were outside and the sunlight was on you, and now you're in the dark, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you all very much. Have a good evening.
Good night.
We're adjourned.